WrestleMania has been the stage for a fair few dream matches over the years, from The Rock vs Hulk Hogan to Kevin Owens vs Steve Austin. But we wrestling fans are an ungrateful bunch at the best of times and tend to dwell on what we didn't get or what we would like in a perfect world to see instead. Thankfully, with these newfangled video games, our dreams can now be realized. I'm Adam Pachisi from Cultaholic Wrestling, and these are 10 WrestleMania dream matches you can play in WWE 2K24. Join us! Number 10, John Cena vs Hulk Hogan. Well, we might as well start with a big one, eh? Hulk Hogan was the star of the 1980s, the force of Hulkamania then running wild into the 90s and early 2000s. Starting in the mid-2000s, John Cena took up the mantle as the all-American, all-conquering babyface hero to millions of WWE fans worldwide. The prospect of these two wrestling against each other is certainly appetizing, and something that feels that we probably just missed out on as the Hulkster was winding down his career, right as Cena was on his way to global superstardom. Thanks to the wonders of technology, you can now put these icons up against each other in the squared circle and on the grandest stage. You even have the choice of putting Big Match John in there with prime 80s Hogan, or the Hogan that was enjoying an Indian summer following his return to WWE in 2002. Will it be the atomic leg drop that sees Cena off, or will an attitude adjustment lead to a rare loss for the immortal one? That is up to you, because in the video game world, nobody is gonna balk at doing the job, brother. Number 9, Cactus Jack vs Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens realized a dream when he got to wrestle Stone Cold Steve Austin in the main event of Night 1 of WrestleMania 38. Based on the prize fighter's penchant for punishment, both dishing it out and taking it, it wouldn't shock me if another dream of his was getting twatted about by Mick Foley. The game offers the chance to play as each of Foley's famous three faces. As fun as Dude Love is and as mad as a box of frogs as Mankind is, a WrestleMania showdown with KO is the perfect hunting ground for the sadistic Cactus Jack. And this obviously wouldn't be a regular match because, I mean, please. While I'm sure some of you sickos would probably enjoy seeing Foley and Owens trading headlock takeovers and hip tosses, I think the vast majority of us normals want to see this one gimmicked the frig up. We want weapon shots, we want nasty bumps, and we want to see what these two twisted minds could come up with if let loose with no restrictions on the grandest stage. Whether it's Extreme Rules, Falls Count Anywhere, or something like an ambulance match, there might not be a stadium big enough to contain the violence. Number 8, Shawn Michaels vs Seth Rollins. Throughout his WWE career, Shawn Michaels made it his mission to steal the show with his in-ring performances every single night. Whether he was the cocky and flamboyant WWE champion during the 90s or the returning veteran in the 2000s, the Heartbreak Kid could be counted on to give you the best match on any given show. These days, it is Seth Rollins who consistently brings the goods and is steadily building a legacy as one of the best, if not the best, in-ring talents of his generation. In real life, Prime Michaels and Prime Rollins would match up perfectly thanks to their similar sizes, styles, and approaches to big matches. On the biggest show of the year, these two would be fully determined to create a WrestleMania moment and make life difficult for the poor sods who had to follow them. Players of WWE 2K24 can also opt to spice things up with a special stipulation, with a ladder match or Iron Man match feeling the most apt for HBK and the Architect. Time to freaking burn it down, sexy boys. Wait, what? Number 7, Chyna vs Rhea Ripley. Don't treat me like a woman, don't treat me like a man, treat me like a mammy. In an era where women were treated very differently to today's female WWE superstars, Chyna stood out as a true force of nature in her own right. Strong, confident, and big and bad enough to mix it up with the men, the ninth wonder of the world was one of the biggest stars of the Attitude Era and the first and only woman to hold the Intercontinental title. These days, it's Rhea Ripley who strikes fear into members of both sexes. A match between the two at the Showcase of the Immortals would no doubt be the stuff of legend, with plenty of built-in story to draw from. After all, Chyna was at one point romantically involved with Eddie Guerrero, while Ripley now calls Eddie's biological son Dominic her boyfriend. Rhea is quite obviously a fan of the WWE Hall of Famer too, going so far as to pay tribute to her with her ring gear, and she would be one of the few females to give Chyna a proper test. I'd certainly give her a better shot than Ivory anyway. Number 6, Dusty Rhodes vs Cody Rhodes. Father versus son. The American Dream versus the American Nightmare. Dusty versus Cody. Dusty was around to guide young Cody during his early WWE career, returning later to help him keep his job when the Authority wanted him out of the company. That must have been bucket list stuff for Pops to witness, but I reckon he would have gotten more of a kick out of actually standing across the ring from his offspring. The story here would tell itself, but it would be really intriguing to see if either man, both of them consummate babyfaces, would veer over to the dark side once frustrations started to creep in. You would expect it to play out like a great 1970s NWA title match with a few modern touches. But then again, you could always go full-on babyface versus heel and have Cody's old alter ego Stardust, also a playable character in the game, come back to take down the man that passed down the polka dots. A lot has been made about Cody's desire to finish the story, but I'm willing to bet my bottom dollar that he would leave it without a final chapter if given the opportunity to dance with Dusty. Number 5, The Undertaker versus The Fiend. We were lucky enough to be able to witness The Undertaker take on Bray Wyatt in real life when the two men met at WrestleMania 31. A year after the streak was broken, the dead man came back like a man possessed and managed to rebound from that titanic loss by scoring a victory over the Eater of Worlds. Taker was able to put Bray Wyatt away at the granddaddy of them all, sure, but how would he fare against The Fiend? Because as intimidating as the backwoods dweller character was, the masked maniac who tried to crush skulls with a giant mallet was like a horror movie villain come to life. The Undertaker fought most of the oddballs that came through WWE's doors during his 30-year career, but a date with The Fiend would be up there with the most intriguing of the bunch. Extra intrigue could of course be added with a gimmick. Hell in a Cell immediately springs to mind, a match type synonymous with both characters, but for very different reasons. Number 4, Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio versus the Usos. Jimmy and Jey Uso may have split up and are looking more liable to try and kill each other than tag again, but they are one of the very best teams in history, and should they ever get back together, you can count on me to be there in the front row, because I have been down since day one. Well, day one-ish. Rey Mysterio is a man who has gotten to throw down with the Usos on several occasions over the past few years, but it was always with that lousy good-for-nothing son of his by his side. So why not swap out Dominic Mysterio for his biological father? Mysterio and Guerrero had one of the most notable rivalries of their era, but before it all went sour between them, they were riding high as the WWE Tag Team Champions. It would be incredible to see them team up together once again, and I can't think of a team better suited to their style than the Usos. No steps needed for this awesome foursome, but if there was a way to suspend Dirty Dom above the ring in a shark cage, then I'm not against the idea. Number 3, LA Knight versus Roddy Piper. Just when you think you know the answers, LA Knight goes, yeah, and you find yourself standing there wishing you were that Jack handsome and charismatic. Don't you? One man who had no time for beloved pretty boy babyfaces was Roddy Piper, chief antagonist and a man as deadly with the microphone in his hand as he was with his fists in the ring. A program between these two would have been dynamite. I mean, just think of the promos alone, while I reckon their styles would have meshed well between the ropes. For all their many strengths, neither one has ever relied on having technically sound matches and have instead tried to create heightened drama and emotion through their connection with the audience. You would count on Knight and Hot Rod to work a capacity crowd like a fiddle or a set of bagpipes, using every trick in the book as they build them up for a grand finale. And hey, for extra sports entertainment shenanigans, let's install Bobby the Brain Heenan as the special and crooked guest referee. Number 2, The Rock versus Roman Reigns versus Yokozuna. We came real damn close to finally getting The Rock going one-on-one with Roman Reigns at this year's WrestleMania. And then the Cody crybaby started crying their stupid little faces off, and now we might never get to see the match which had been rumoured for years go down. When speaking about the bloodline and who is the head of the table and all that good stuff, the role of Yokozuna in the Samoan dynasty should not be overlooked. After all, the super heavyweight was the first member of the legendary Anoa'i family to win the WWE title and set the standard for those who followed him. Perhaps he too would like to consider himself the head of the table. The People's Champion and the Tribal Chief may like to think they're big and bad, but Yoko was bigger and badder than both men put together, and a triple threat threat match would throw up an interesting dynamic. Plus, we've all fantasized about Yokozuna stacking Rock on top of Roman and hitting them with the biggest bonsai drop in history, right? Right? Number 1, Bret Hart versus Kurt Angle. Bret Hart has for a long time said that Kurt Angle is the one person he would have liked to have wrestled but never got the chance to, and even had literal dreams where it was happening. Kurt Angle got to wrestle just about every major name around, yet he was rising through the WWE ranks right as the Hitman was being forced to retire due to concussion issues. It is a crying shame that these two masters of the mat never got the opportunity to lock up, though I suppose we can all see how it might have played out via the joy of video games. I am not being hyperbolic when I say that the excellence of execution versus the Olympic hero at WrestleMania has all the potential to be the greatest match in WWE history. These two, in their primes and motivated to produce, would create sports entertainment magic of the highest caliber. Just imagine the drama down the closing stretch. It would be off the charts. Two of the best ever trading holds and going for broke in a bid to prove that they are the best there is, best there was, and best there ever will be, simply put, is a guaranteed 5-star classic. Oh, it's true. It's, well, you know the rest. 2K24 out now, link in description.